Hey, it's Grayson Peltier. I'm back here with the Fixer Punk podcast, as promised, the Fixing the Fixer Punk episode. If you're not familiar, this is the episode where I tell you about all of my problems and some of the potential solutions to those in the hopes that somehow something I'm going through relates to you and maybe I help you find a solution to the same problem as well. But in reality, all this serves as a way for me to vent about my own issues in a way that I wouldn't get to otherwise. What I wanted to do this time was I am deliberately doing this episode without my ADHD medication. I'm starting to believe that the medication may be giving me some sort of slight speech impediment. So apologies for anybody who listened to the last episode and couldn't follow it and found it unlistenable. I went back and listened to it and I agree with you. So if that was you, I just wanted to say I apologize. So I thought, let me just deliberately make sure I'm off the medication today when I record, which I have low motivation, and that's why I'm on an ADHD medication, in this case, Vyvanse. When I record, it's often when I'm on the medication because the medication makes me motivated to do all kinds of things, including doing these episodes. Although what I'm figuring out is that a lot of it has to do just with energy levels straight up, maybe not the attention as much, and having free and open time outside of being dragged into things. Like right now, my mom, who I wind up doing a whole lot of stuff with because we happen to live together, is out Christmas shopping. I didn't go with her because there's a possibility that she's going to buy my gift. So, of course, I want to be surprised. I don't want to know what that gift is. So I decided to stay behind. And that is hence how I had time to record this episode. And I'm still concentrating on it, even though I don't have any medication in me. But on the other hand, I don't know if I would be able to focus on my normal work, which work is getting rather busy for me, very stressful this past week. My work's a little different now. Now there's one day a week where I have to get up really early in the morning for a meeting, which that's very bad with me because generally I stay up until like 2, 3 in the morning no matter what I do. I can't seem to move that. But I'm trying. I'm taking all kinds of stuff, all kinds of different sleep aids, melatonin, magnesium, Benadryl, all with my doctor's approval, of course. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's still very challenging. But yeah, it's like quiet time may actually be the challenge here because I feel like sometimes, I guess, my mind kind of wakes up at night. Like I'll wake up in the morning and there'll be like 2-3 hours of like just feeling so incredibly dull, and then it's just stuff coming at me, just more work coming at me, emails, this, that, different aspects of my job, because my job's kind of non-conventional. I kind of have multiple jobs as somebody who's, I guess, a quasi-entrepreneur, but not really because I'm really, really employed. But it's not like I have one set thing that I do, and I like it that way. I don't have one set thing that I do every single day from 9 to 5. I don't really like that. If I have to do it, I have to do it, but that's not my preference. So then I wake up in the morning and I have no energy, and then I'm drained out, and then through the day, and then at night for some reason my energy seems to come back. And then I wind up staying up later because I feel good, and then sometimes I just stay up because I naturally stay up even though I'm trying. Something always seems to get in my way late at night with me getting in bed. And I'm trying desperately to find solutions for it, but I'm not really getting the kind of help, the kind of answers I really want to get to. It seems like when you try to get there isn't like a therapy service out there, at least not one that you can get through insurance, that will be like, okay, you have all these habits and things in your lifestyle that you need to change. Let's work with you on that. I mentioned on previous Fixing the Fixer Punk episodes that I have done accountability coaching with like groups online. But some of that stuff's not really consistent because these are just other people who are like you. It's very good, very helpful. I found it very helpful. But it's not as good maybe as having some sort of professional who really knows how to troubleshoot the problems and see, okay, well, this is due to your low energy from this, and this is how we fix it, and have deliberate practice. So I'm looking into like accountability coaches, ADHD coaches, all that stuff, but that costs money. I have a little bit of money right now because in my real estate end of my job, I did make a decent amount of money. That was also very stressful. And I need to work on, in order to improve my income, I need to work on my stress tolerance and my stress endurance. So it's like I can do very, very good work. The reason why I get jobs, the reason why people pay me money is because I do exceptionally good work for them. They like what I have to offer and they come back. But I don't have enough volume in terms of my work. Like having me just work for 8 hours a day straight is going to leave me so incredibly drained that I feel like I'm going to wind up in bed. I can pull it off, but do I feel healthy doing it? No. Even adding this new job with the schedule change kind of set me back a little bit. Like I stopped working out for a few nights, so I'll wind up having to cut back on workouts and stuff like that. And then obviously, that affects my fitness goals. I'm probably up like 2 pounds, which is not what I really want to do. In terms of my fitness goals, I'm trying to build muscle but stay roughly the same weight. I know that with like 2-3 skipped workouts this week and the weight going up, I know that that's probably not like good lean mass, but I'm still confident and good with what I've done so far in that area. But I want to be able to have the energy where I can get through things. So it's sort of a matter of mental endurance and then stress tolerance. Like anytime I have like this conditioned response to stress where my body seems to like physically react to it and get twitchy and stuff like that. I don't know if that's my autism. I don't know if that's my ADD. I don't know if that's my anxiety. But as much as I've mentioned these issues of like endurance, of like getting tired too quickly, and then the stress tolerance of being able to tolerate and handle more intense work stress or without feeling all twitchy and ill and just feeling yucky when I have to do work. Generally, you go to psychologists, you go to psychiatrists, and they can do just a little bit with medications. But then you go to psychologists, they don't really have a deliberate way of like, this is how we train up your stress tolerance, your endurance. And there are techniques for these things. There are things that like I'm reading in like sports psychology. I even bought an app for it. I even bought some app called Rewire Fitness, and I haven't used it in a long time. I'm paying for it, but I'm not using it. I'm not developing habits, and nobody's really helping me stay accountable to those habits. So that's making things even more difficult. But it's not like I walk into a therapist and they do that. It's more like, let's talk about your childhood, or let's gather all this general information. There's never really a goal or a structured plan to it. And then my psychiatrist, it seems like he's really pulling for me, doing a really good job with getting me on the Vyvanse. Sorry about that. And making sure that end of things taken care of. But the anxiety treatment, I'm not sure if it can even be accomplished with medication while I'm on that other medication. The sleep, I've been offered to take a medicine called Remeron, but that has weight gain as a side effect, and apparently people are saying that it's pretty significant. So that makes me reluctant to use the Remeron. And then, of course, like I mentioned with the Vyvanse, I'll have to listen back to this episode where I'm off the Vyvanse versus on it. And see if my speech is any clearer than it was on the last episode. But I'm going to want to really track that particular symptom because I want to know, is it the medication or do I need to get myself back into speech therapy? Which I actually had speech therapy when I was in elementary school, but my speech therapy really wasn't all too helpful. It was trying to force socialization that I didn't really want. And that was for my diagnosis of autism, or what they called back then Asperger's syndrome. So I'm just trying to think of good strategies, of ways to improve that. And I've been thinking of, okay, maybe what I need to do is train up physical endurance. I did get mentioned to as a side note by one doctor that I should try like outside cardio exercise, especially in the sunlight. I can never bring myself to do that because, again, in the morning, what happens is I'm already bombarded with work and I feel like I need to get it done. Like, to me, work feels like a leech that is draining from my body, but that's also like a 25-pound weight vest that makes everything harder to do. So I want to get that leech off of there, and I want to get that 25-pound weight vest off of me as quickly as possible. So then that leads to me being frantic through work. And other thing is that when I have work that's due to another party, I'm like, okay, can I step away? Am I safe to step away and start doing something else like working out? Or do I absolutely have to get this done? And that's sort of a debate I keep having with myself in my own mind. Is like, do I actually have the time to do this if I still have work pending? Even if I know that work can get done later or can get done tomorrow, but because I have work pending, I don't want this thing on my back, basically. And that's a challenge that I have to work through. And I also sort of developed this sort of avoidant complex. Like, I'll try to get things done in the morning before, like a brief workout, anything I want to do in the morning, like before I even look at my phone. So I'm like completely avoidant of even looking at my phone, looking at my notifications at all. The exception is when somebody calls me. Then I definitely know that I have to pick up. And email notifications, whatever, I'm just waiting on them. I was never like this before. I was never avoidant toward work or scared of it at all. And I don't know what happened to my stress tolerance. But I've come up with all these weird patchwork solutions of holding my work up on scaffolding. It's still good. I'm still providing good work, but I'm not able to do the volume that I want to do while maintaining the other aspects of my lifestyle. And I'm really trying to find good solutions for that. The medication helps. Absolutely, the Vyvanse helps with me being able to focus and actually have the motivation and drive to actually do work. But part of me just constantly feels like I want a break. I was thinking that after the real estate work, which was very, very intense, very difficult to get this transaction done, my first one as a realtor, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to give myself some time off. But then what happened is, and the only reason why I'm taking a job right now is because, unfortunately, and I was going to use some of the money from this real estate job to pay for better treatment options and stuff like that and focus on those things. But the reason why I'm even taking a regular job, basically, is because my grandmother has a oven microwave combination in her house that she's had for basically original, back to when the house was built in the early 90s or something like that. And those things are surprisingly expensive to replace because it's a built-in oven microwave combination. They're very hard to find, and it's running like $3,000, something like that. So the family has to chip in to help them because they're on a fixed income. Praise God, they've lived to 90 years old, but it's not like they're loaded with money, so we have to help chip in for that. And I was asked to chip in for it, of course, because my family kind of helped me secure my real estate deal. So they're like, okay, well, Grayson, you're going to have to pony up for part of this. And I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this and then also do all the other stuff I want to do in my life? So just in the nick of time, I get called in for this job, which is remote, pretty flexible, within the realm of things that I do professionally, and paid pretty well. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll take this job. And then I'm like, okay, I'm not giving my body the kind of rest and recovery that I want to. Thankfully, though, there's a little hiatus coming up, a hiatus week for this company over the holidays. So maybe that'll let me get more rest. I've been deliberately trying to, on the weekends, like sleep really, really late just to get the rest in and then be able to recalibrate my sleep cycle as things go so I can get up for those 8 o'clock meetings. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm just hoping that maybe I'll still be able to give myself the kind of rest. But I feel like anytime I have work pending, my brain doesn't work the same way. And I know conceptually what I need to do. I need to be doing all kinds of different techniques to try to train that up. but I can't bring myself to do them. And I feel like CM Punk's old principle of you can't heal in the same environment that made you sick. I was trying to put myself in a situation where I could heal in an environment outside of what made me sick. But I have to stay in this environment to help other people right now. And that is troubling me a little bit. And I've been thinking about trying to build my independence, trying to move out, trying to do more things, trying to relearn how to drive, all of that stuff. But I know what reality is. And every time I talk to my family about trying to move out and better my life, I'm given the reality check of, look, there are obligations, there are responsibilities, there are all these things you need to take care of. And I know how to deal with them in my own way. I just don't know how to deal with them in a way that works with all these different parties that are kind of involved in the decision-making of my life. And that's still kind of my challenge. But on the bright side, I have been still seeing progress in terms of my fitness. Even with the very slight setback, I definitely feel stronger, lifting heavier weights, still been keeping up after the gains that I made while I was able to use that hotel gym, but I haven't gotten back to the gym. And that's also because the whole COVID situation. I bought a whole box of KN95 masks, and I'm going to try to work out in those, go to the gym with those. But now the whole New Year's thing, all the New Year's people, resolution people in the gym, I don't know if I want to expose myself to that pandemonium. My original plan was to, back when I got home from the hotel in August, was to go and start out going to the gym on a regular basis, lifting heavy weights, trying to build up strength, trying to build bulk, really. And then starting later on in the new year, like I'm talking like February, March, then start to cut down. But I've just been at home kind of maintaining with 25-pound weights because of all the stress and the chaos of the stuff that's been going on with the real estate work and all of that. Because it was just making me feel really, really sick. I would fight through it, absolutely 100% fight through work because that's necessary, but not able to take care of my goals the way I want to. That's also sort of the reason for the unexpected hiatus of this podcast. But right now I'm in a situation where I'm definitely built muscle. I definitely am stronger, but it's not like very visible. And I'm at a point where I haven't built the amount of muscle that I want to build, and then we're running up on a timeline for summer if I want to cut down for summer. And I was thinking and I'm going to have some fun here with my grander plans and think outside the realm of reality, because the thing is that in order to motivate myself in the way my mind works, I cannot just think about the mundane everyday achievements. I have to think about something that is crazy and ridiculous. That's why I'm drawn to extreme kind of sports and stuff like that. It's because I have to have that incredible moment. But my goal was to be able to over this summer do a fitness photo shoot, and also to then, for my birthday, be able to go out of town somewhere where I would be able to, where it would be like a beach vacation or like a pool vacation, out of town. And that's not really seeming like much of reality now. And if I wanted to do that, I would probably want to start going on calorie deficit, getting into the whole cutting aspect of dieting and fitness pretty soon, going into January. And I'm not sure how to navigate that. Maybe I kind of alternate weeks from going and eating normally and then eating less, upping cardio. I'd much rather do more cardio, which again, I keep struggling with getting that in. I'm getting a good 3 to 5 weightlifting sessions in a week here at home. And I've been consistent on that, been able to keep up and maintain, but I haven't been getting much cardio in. I don't track what I'm eating. I do it very casually. I just I eat intuitively, to be honest, and try to maintain around the same weight. And that approach is helping me maintain, but I'm going to need to change things up to an extent. Either I go more into lifting weights, go into the gym, and just deal with the crowds and the potential COVID exposure. I don't know if my mom would let me buy a big barbell set and put it downstairs here in this house. Also looking at like heavy duty resistance band things, like this thing called an Undersun fitness device, but I don't know how good that is versus like actually joining a gym. So I have a lot to think about in terms of fitness. I'm kind of leaning towards the strategy of like just tracking where I'm at and then kind of just making adjustments as I go in terms of like the bulking or the cutting or the weightlifting versus more cardio, and then just seeing, okay, so in terms of how I'm going right now, in terms of like the weighing every couple weeks, probably gonna have to up that to every weekend in terms of the pictures I take on a regular basis to see how my progress is going, sort of adjusting it and recalibrating it myself. But if I'm like feeling sick and out of energy and all of that, I feel like working on training my body and getting into a certain physique is kind of secondary to bringing up my energy. But the thing is that like this whole energy and stress tolerance and all that stuff, I don't really know how to solve that. And honestly, it's easier for me to find a trainer or a coach who's going to work on my body, and that's a more simpler and easier thing to tackle than improving my overall mental endurance. In terms of physical endurance, I could start training physical endurance with running and stuff like that. But in terms of my mental endurance and not just crashing at the end of the day of work, I don't know what the limiting factor is of that. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe it could be physical endurance. There are some research studies that correlate cardiovascular conditioning to mental endurance. Other studies don't find a link. I've been thinking about getting a bunch of testing, like in line with the whole fitness goals and with the whole photo shoot / beach vacation goal for the summer. I was going to go and get some body fat testing with one of those DEXA scans and Fit3D scans, and also kind of compare methodologies, compare between the DEXA, the Fit3D, and a STIQ scan, and basically trying to see how much those methodologies differ, and making that a bit of a YouTube special for the new year, because lots of people are going to be interested in that kind of content come the new year. And I'm not sure if that is going to be in the cards, because when I live at home, my mom kind of wants to know where I'm going. And if I tell her, oh, I'm getting all these weird scans done and going and meeting with these trainers and coaches, she's going to be like, what? Why are you doing all that stuff when you should be doing something else that's more important? And maybe that's where my mindset comes from, of that I have to finish everything related to work before I work on anything personal in a day-to-day basis, is because I know that external criticism is there. So I'm not sure if I'm good. And then one of those centers, though, that does that, before I lose my train of thought, that does these scans, also offers a Vo2 Max Test, which is a test of aerobic capacity and endurance. And I'm wondering if then I take that test and see, okay, is there a correlation between, and then sorry about that. You can tell that I don't edit this podcast by the fact that you'll get random coughs and me randomly sipping water during the episode. But maybe I try to correlate in terms of my endurance, my aerobic endurance, my work tolerance and stress endurance. And then I'm also thinking about doing like an actual test of like I feel like I can't do this at home because I have so many distractions and disturbances, but I would literally need to go somewhere into an office where I can actually test my mental endurance in terms of work and how long I can focus and stay on task and actually track those metrics and evaluate them and correlate and see, is that going in line with the cardio work that I'm doing? Is something actually changing in my mind as a result of what's changing in my body? And then also tracking, is my body changing in the ways that I want it to, using those physical tests. And organizing that obviously takes time, takes money, two things that I'm not all too high on, but I could probably pull it off. And then the work endurance, maybe I may want to also implement, like I was using that whole Rob Dyrdek's hypnotist, Dr. George Pratt hypnosis program, but I haven't been able to motivate myself, even as the Vyvanse has been motivating me to do all kinds of other stuff. I haven't been able to motivate myself to get back into those hypnosis tapes. So I think I probably need to start talking a little bit more about this stuff with this like motivation accountability group that I chat with online, and I tell about my weekly workouts and my weekly content. So really, I honestly have a lot to do, and it's a bit overwhelming of where to start. But maybe I should get a little bit more deliberate about testing endurance. If I can start testing things, if I'm not going to get questioned about where I'm going and when I'm leaving the house to kind of run these experiments on myself, then I can go ahead with doing more of these kinds of things. And then in terms of the podcast, I need to be more consistent in doing these episodes. But again, if I feel too drained at the end of the day, I'm not going to want to sit here and record an episode as much as I really, really want to produce more content for all of you. I'm not going to be motivated to do that. So I don't know if accountability is going to help here. So that's the thing, is I have to figure out, is accountability what's going to help here, or what's going to help here is actually a change in material conditions. That's always the battle of self-improvement, because material conditions are the biggest limitation, and some of those material conditions are not entirely in your control. This is why I have a fundamental belief that improving collective conditions within society, things like economic empowerment, healthcare, the environment, are very important to helping people achieve their goals. And this mindset of just focusing on bootstraps and individual behavior is really almost pathological and politically manipulative from my experience in the political communication field. One kind of notable self-help podcaster mentioned this concept, and I'm so happy he did. Greg Clunis of the Tiny Leaps, Big Changes podcast had a whole episode, I think it's episode 777, where he's talking about personal development and how a lot of people can't won't have as big of an impact of their life of changing their behaviors, changing what they're doing in their own personal life, as it would be in terms of changing how society operates and allowing people to have more opportunity. People who are given less opportunity because of their race or their gender or the place where they live or their disability, that those types of things and changing the conditions of society is going to improve people's performance even more than just changing their behavior, because there's a limit on what changing your behavior can do. Not to say that's not important, but the two should go together, and I hate when self-help people just dismiss the other part. And I also don't quite like it when people who are more progressive activists kind of dismiss the sort of self-help stuff and scare away people who are into development of fitness, and people who are into improving their business performance, people who are into entrepreneurship, when the left kind of pushes them away and says that's anathema to their collectivist approach, when the two work together. And that's a point I bring up a lot on this podcast. So I think that's going to conclude the therapy session that I hold with myself and with you listening in as the fly on the wall. A lot of my new content, I am definitely working on growing the amount of content that I'm putting out there, but a lot of it is going on to TikTok. TikTok is at Fixerpunk, Fixerpunk. That's updated probably 3 to 5 times a week now with different insights about self-help, about my fitness. On there, I actually have some of my progress photos. that I'm using to track my progress with my working out. And some other and stuff about politics and policy analysis and kind of solving systemic barriers to people's individual change. So check it out, Fixerpunk, FIXERPUNK on TikTok. You can also go follow the Twitter at GreysonNation, GreysonNation. That's pretty regularly updated as well. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and go to fixerpunk.com and provide me with your email address so you can get informed about new content first. Thank you so much for listening to the Fixerpunk podcast, and hopefully I'll see you soon. And if I don't see you before Christmas, have a Merry Christmas. Thank you.